Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm here today as a design team member for Blue Knight Rubber Stamps, creating a card with the Boys with Pets stamp set. It features 4 stamps, one of a boy with a cat and a boy with a dog, and there's a small image and a large image of each. So you've got your large image of a boy with a dog and a small image of a boy with a dog. Then you have a large image of a boy with a cat and a small image of a boy with a cat. So depending on what perspective you need and what size you need, you can go with what you need. I'm using pan pastels. These are artist grade, high quality pastel mediums, and it's like using paint, but it's dry. And it's like using ink, but it's dry, but it's not chalky. So if you think about an artist who has pastel crayons, it's a lot like that as far as the colors themselves, but they're ultra fine artist quality pastels and they're in a pan format. You can blend and apply these colors like fluid paint. They have very low dust and they are less dirty, in my opinion, than even inks because you can just wash them right off your hands and they won't stain your hands, but they're highly pigmented and they're very rich colors. You can also erase if there's a mistake. So if you ever do create something and you're not satisfied with it, you can use just a regular eraser and erase it. So I have here in my hand a tool, and it's like a knife. It's called a soft knife, and it has a soft sponge at the top, and I'm going to be blending some colors. So the first color you saw me use and apply with the soft sponge is called the yellow. Now I'm using orange, and I'm just going in from the side with my orange, just tapping very lightly. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to use a lot of pan pastels in order to get the color down. A little bit goes a long way. The set that I'm using is from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps Pan Pastels. It's called Sunrise Sunset, and it comes with 7 different colors. One of them is white. It also has permanent red, magenta, burnt sienna shade, red iron oxide, diarrhea yellow, and orange. So those are the colors that it comes with. What's nice about this, it also comes with a plastic palette. Basically, it's a case that the pastels can be stored in safely, and that makes it great for, your options in your craft room. When you're done with them, you just put the lid on them and you can just stack them on top of each other. As far as I have about 6 different palettes. So I've got the sunrise and sunset from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps, and I have the day and night, which is the blues and the greens. I also have a set that I picked up from Amazon, which is the metallics. And I have 2 sets that I picked up from Fun Stamper's Journey. One is sort of the darker colors, and one is the pastels. And then I have another palette, which is sort of a mix and match of colors that I've picked up from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps as individual colors and also from other places as well. So you'll see how nice this is coming together. I'm really liking the effect of the orange coming in from the side, and it's not all one solid color. I just think it just reminds you of like a bright sunny day, and I'm going to be stamping the boy with the dog on this particular card base that I'm making, this panel. As far as the tools that you use, the sponges and the soft tools, you don't have to wash them in water. You can just wipe them off on a paper towel, and they will come clean that way. You can wash them in water if you'd like, but I have yet to do that. I just wipe mine off on paper towel, and then I'm able to go ahead into my next color. I do keep sort of like a sponge dedicated for the oranges and the yellows, another sponge dedicated for like the blues and the purples. So those are your options. You can always just use what you have once you get it, or you can use makeup sort of cosmetic sponges, although they do not work as well. But if that's all you have, then that's what you should use. Okay, next I have another Blue Knight rubber stamp set with the various pines, and I'm going to take one of those trees and stamp right on top of my blended panel. And that's what's nice about pan pastels. You can stamp right over top of them. I'm going to pick the tree. I think it's the middle sized tree. I've got VersaFine Clair ink and Rainforest, and I'm using the Blue Knight rubber stamp pad handle. This is a handle that is magnetic, and you can attach it to your stamp pad, and this will prevent you from dropping your stamp pad. Doesn't that look fantastic? That's just like the perfect pine tree. I love the way it looks. I love the way the green ink looks with the yellow and the orange background. I'm just really liking the way this looks. And then I'm going to offset my next, well, same tree, same ink color, but I'm going to offset it and move it down a little bit so that it gives a little bit of a perspective, and also stamp some of it off of the panel so that it's not all of it on the panel. And I stamp it twice because I want it to, I just don't want it, I don't want the back tree to show through. I don't want the back tree to show through the front tree. So that's my perspective there. The one in the back looks further away. I am going to stamp one more tree on the right side, stamping it off the panel, and using the same color ink, VersaFine Clair Rainforest. VersaFine Clair is a really good ink to use with your pan pastels. It's hybrid ink, a little bit of pigment, a little bit of dye. Takes a little bit to dry, so just be really careful. If you are going to use this ink, be aware that it does take a little bit longer to dry than a dye-based ink. Okay, I'm going to put the panel back in my MISTI and use the boy with the dog. That's what I'm going to stamp with. But before I do that, I'm going to hit it with my heat tool because, as I said, this ink needs to be dry. I want it to be dry before I move on to my next step, for fear that I would bump it or smear it, and then all that work would be, for nothing. But as I'm holding it, can you see the way the orange and the yellow is interspersed on the background panel? I think that looks really nice instead of one solid color to have the light playing off of each other. And then that tree set is called Evergreens, and that's available through Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. So it looks like I'm using the small boy with dog, and this is from Boys with Pets, and it's a silhouette image, and I put a piece of acetate down because I want to make sure that I have everything lined up in the right position. And I was pretty satisfied with that, so I'm just putting my panel back in my MISTI and securing it with the magnets using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is black, and I'm going to stamp a couple times my silhouette image. So the dog is with the boy, and the boy is giving the dog a treat. I think it looks great. Really, really pleased with how this turned out. I do have to make one small correction. I have to add a solid ground, and I'm using my Copic marker 110 to make sort of like a mound or a rock that they're standing on. because otherwise it looked like they were floating, just because I wasn't that close to the bottom of the card panel. So as you can see, I matted this with a black mat in the background, and I adhered it to a white card base. Again, I am using my heat tool just to make sure that that ink is set. And that's the finished card. I added some birds to the top right hand corner from the Birds 2 stamp set from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. Here's a still shot of the image, just so that you can get a closer look at how it turned out, with the trees and the boy with the pet, with his dog, and the birds. And I also put a sentiment on there. And it says, "Thinking of you," and that's also from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. I also made another card using this stamp set, and with my second card, it is of the boy with the cat. And here's a still shot of that card. So it's got Distress Oxide background that I ink blended with squeezed lemonade, spiced marmalade, and picked raspberry. And then I had a die in my stash that had this tree outline with a border, and I used that to frame the card. So I hope you enjoyed this card. This is my last video as a design team member for Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. I wasn't selected to continue, which I appreciate the time that I've spent representing the company, and I have enjoyed working with their stamps. And I hope that you all will continue checking out my channel. I'm close to 2,000 subscribers, and I'll be having a big giveaway real soon. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a hopeful day. Bye-bye.